There you go. That's better. So we'll see how long that lasts in terms of nothing much, to be honest. I just got done doing a couple different things. So now we're gonna stream something. I don't particularly know what. But yeah, so I guess there's a lot that we could talk about, to be completely honest, because trust me when I say there's a lot. I think getting some of the stuff off of the desktop would be good. So I just got back from vacation, so that's why I've been gone. I don't even think I put out a notice on Twitter or Facebook, but if I did, I did. That I was going on vacation. So I'm back from vacation. It was only 4 days worth of vacation. But it was good. I had a whole bunch of fun. When I could have fun, and then other times it wasn't fun, but you know how it is. With going on vacation and things like that, you don't get to always have fun. So I'm gonna drag all this over into here, get all that out of the way. So it was like, basically I have a huge extended family, just like most other people in the world. So we do a family reunion every year for both sides of the family. So we were doing, oh, I didn't mean to do that. We're doing the family reunion for my grandmother's side of the family. This time of year, I do it all the time. I did it last year. We went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So this, in case you don't know, Gatlinburg was hit by really, really bad fires about a couple months after we had gone up there. So the place that we had stayed at was no longer available for us to stay in, which means we couldn't go back because the other places there that had managed to rebuild are really high-end and really expensive, and my family couldn't afford that. So we ended up going and basically combining the trip with a different portion of another trip. So a couple of my grandmother's, like, cousin-ish people's daughter was getting married to some other guy. Yeah. So they have a wedding. So their wedding was in Mississippi. Yeah, I don't hand out none, but it's all right, mate. I got you. So we had to go to Mississippi for the wedding. So basically the family was like, well, if we're going to Mississippi for the wedding, why not just most of us go, and then while we're there, we'll go ahead and have family reunion. So we all went to Mississippi basically and had a pretty good time. So the first day, we left on Thursday of last week. We went out up to Milton, Florida, and stayed at a KOA. It was an interesting experience. The cabin they put us in was really small. And by really small, I mean super small. It was so cramped in that cabin, to be honest. But it was good. Is it raining over here or is it hail? It's raining. We're in Florida, so I don't think we'll ever get hail. If we do, it's a huge surprise. My girlfriend went with me, so I got to finally sleep in the same bed with her, which is awesome. I love sleeping in the same bed with her. She's really warm, so she keeps me warm without needing a blanket. So, yeah. She also gets cold, so being able to be in the same bed underneath the same blanket is awesome. So I can keep her warm too. But we got out to Milton. We got there. It was a pretty easy stay there for a while, to be completely honest. We didn't really do too much that night. So the next morning we got up and we're going to finish the drive over to Mississippi, going through not sure who you're saying things to. Going through Georgia, there's a little portion of, no, I'm sorry, going through a little portion of Alabama. I always get these two confused of where they're at on the map. Door always does that. Hate it. So we have to go through a little bit of Alabama to get to that side of Mississippi, and depending on which direction you go, you might also have to go through Louisiana, because Louisiana is underneath Mississippi. So on the way up, I was just kind of reading road signs, because that's what you do when you're driving. You have to read road signs to know where you're going. And I kept seeing signs that were like, oh, come tour the USS Alabama, come see the USS Drum, things like that. And I was kind of confused. It was like, okay, what is that? So I had my girlfriend look it up, and it turns out that there's a place just like Charleston, South Carolina, Patriots Point, Charleston, South Carolina, where you can go, and there's a battleship, there's a submarine, they have their own aircraft carrier, almost said aircraft carrier, thinking of Charleston. They have their own aircraft hangar with a whole bunch of aircraft in it. They have a, so they have kind of like the field where you drive up in front of them. They have a whole bunch of airplanes sitting out in the field, and then a whole bunch of tanks as well. So I was like, okay, well, I'm ready to go. How much does it cost? And she was like, well, it costs $15 per person. And I was like, $15 per person, that's good enough for me. So we went, and it was a really cool experience. We got to tour the whole of the aircraft hangar. We got to tour the entire submarine, except for a few different levels that they're working on. So you get to tour the main level, basically, plus the conning tower. That was a pretty cool experience. You actually could see through the periscope, so that was fun to look through. Then we went back out and we toured most of the Alabama. Unfortunately, we had to go by the time we were getting towards the upper part of the ship. We got to do all of the inside, but not all of the deck and the bridge itself. We didn't get to do any of the tanks or the airplanes on the ground outside the facility, but I could see them, and I got pictures of them from up on top of the Alabama. So that was a really cool experience. So I've been on a World War II aircraft carrier in Charleston, South Carolina, a World War II submarine in Charleston, South Carolina, but a different class from the USS Drum. I've been on a U.S. destroyer in Charleston, South Carolina. I've been in a MOC Vietnam base in Charleston, South Carolina. And then there's planes and stuff at Charleston as well. So I've seen quite a few different military aircrafts. On top of those 3 boats right here, I've now been on a World War II battleship and then another World War II submarine, but is a different class from the other one at Charleston, I think. So I've wanted to go to Lexington for a while. We'll get there one day. I don't know what we're going to do on stream, by the way. This is Bakker's FN57. I got this file from Aspiring Artist, I believe. Could be wrong if I am. I'm sorry. But basically, I've been trying to do the FBI loadouts from Rainbow Six Siege for a while now. So, Ash loadout, Rainbow Six Siege. So, obviously, they have 2 pistols, 2 sidearms. They have the FN57 6.9 US service gun or something like that. And then they also have the M45 MEU SOC, so the 1911. So I also need to build the 1911, and then just for Ash, because she's going to be the first one that I do, I also need to make the what are you talking about, Irish? They also have the G36C and the R4C. You can tell me what's there, mate. Hey, sparring. I'm just making sure it was you. You never knew. Interest in doing the MP40? Yes. I've had an interest now to start more work into more complicated builds within the Lego system because I've found out a little bit more information that's a little bit more helpful with the Lego system. So this is actually something that I can demonstrate on stream just a little bit. So we're going to take a look at this thing. I had a video from someone in our Google Hangouts chat that was demonstrating a whole bunch of different techniques using brackets for building. So I learned some information. So this is a standard 1x1 brick, but there's a couple different measurements that we can learn from this. So first things first, we're gonna duplicate this on up. This is all simple stuff for most people. This like first little bit, you got a whole brick is 3 plates high, and then if you come down here and you take a look at the width between here and here, apparently this is an actual thing. This is called ligometry. It blew my mind. This width between here and here is 1. This is also 1, and then the width between here and here is 3. So this is 5 Lego units. LMU, I believe is what they call it. I think it's Lego measurement units. So this is 5. And then if you actually take and you stack, if we do it this way, it's actually 6 tall, not counting studs. So if you understand this a little bit more, you can actually do some pretty cool things with brackets. So if we take a look at a headlight brick, which is like one of the most underappreciated bricks there is, this portion of the brick is actually 4 LMUs, while this portion down here is still 5. And this is helpful because you can do all sorts of interesting things with this. You can do this. This is an easy way to get something that has studs on all 4 sides. So you can do that. If you want to make like a barrel or something that just sits around. And then I believe with the way that this is set up, the inside of this is flush. Just like that. So you can actually have some form of attachment on the bottom here. So you can just do really cool things if you understand ligometry just a little bit more. So VR simulator, like plain thing, got you. There was one at the Alabama that we didn't go on. It was $5. Outside the ship, there's anti-aircraft flags, which you can get on, and there's one you can move on the ship. I also bumped my head on the metal on the ship. AA flags. Man, that would have sucked, man. The maths have invaded something again, but I think it's something cool to learn about because if you understand ligometry really well, all right, so the headlight brick is a really underappreciated brick, and I've done something like this before. I did this for an AR-15 receiver that I built, but I didn't understand how it worked until now. So this, a standard brick is supposed to be 5 LMUs wide, but the headlight brick, because this section is 4 and this is the section that this actually attaches to, that means that this portion is now 5 as well, so that you can actually do something like this. So I've done this with AR receivers before so that I could use cheese slopes for the actual, like the curving portion of it, because cheese slopes are just a little bit more subtle of a slope than using the 45-degree angles and things like that. So I think that's just a little. I'm really bad at figuring math stuff out too. It's just something that you have to work on getting down. I've known the ratios between different bricks and things like that, but once you start understanding LMUs really well, you start understanding how to attach certain pieces in ways that they weren't intended to be attached to, but have interesting ways of being attached. So it was just something cool. It was I think it's a video series by like a master builder who I think works at Lego. Because if you're a master builder, you work for Lego. Who was going over like the different terms. So he started. The first video was talking about different what actual pieces are called. So these are bricks. The ones with studs on top are called plates, and then or plates, smooth plates, something like that. I don't know. And then basically most of these bricks are called brackets. So that was like the first episode. Then the second episode was talking about how to reinforce things properly, like overlapping bricks, things like that. The third episode talked about a snot method. The fourth episode talked about a snot method, and then the fifth episode talked about a snot method. And then there's way more snot methods other than just that. And then the fifth episode had to do with, I want to say, gears and pistons and things like that. And then I think it was just pistons. And then the sixth episode had to do primarily with like gear ratios and how gears basically work. So if a big gear is spinning small gear, the output is going to be really fast. But if a small gear is turning a big gear, the output's going to be really slow. So you can gear things up or down, and then if you use a whole gear train, you can make it so that the load that you're picking up on like a crane is incredibly easy. So I was going to do something. What was it? I guess we can begin updating work on the G36. I've got a couple different G36s. I've only done one ever, and this is a super old model, so we're going to redo it. So that's all the fun that we had for Friday, basically. Saturday was the day of the wedding. We went to the wedding. It's a wedding, to be honest. There's only so much fun that you can have at a wedding. And then after that, we went out to eat. And then Sunday we came home. So I think the main highlight of the trip, for me at least, is being able to see the USS Alabama, because that was just a fantastically cool thing to see. Rainbow 6C 36C. All right, we gotta make this actually good instead of bad. So let's just view image. Oh man, yeah, this handguard is like way up here. It's not even where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like way back here. All right, let's just come through and delete all this old stuff out. Oh goodness. So old building is so solid. Was this hollow in here too? Man, what was I doing when I was younger? So naive back then. So much new techniques I could be using for this. Not even funny. So yeah, this is definitely in for a pretty big change, to be completely honest. I think these two holes are honestly okay. So I will leave those as is. Okay, why is this over here? I don't know, getting rid of it. All right. It is fun to look back on previous works because this is like super old. Like this has a new style trigger, but this still has the old style stock mech on it where it just folds over to the side, so it has problems with all this stuff here. It doesn't even lock in on this side, so I've got to use a button over here. I'm probably just going to end up using Caro's mechanism. this grip is 4 studs wide. I'm probably going to try to bump it down to 3. We'll see about how that works out. This magazine is only 2 studs wide and uses the old connection method that I had. The trigger's new, and this is fairly okay. I still remember being really proud about how this works, but this is 2 studs, not even 3 studs. This, because of how I understand brackets a lot more now, I could fix this little lip thing that's going on here. I like the fact that this curves like this. I just don't like how there's a little bit of a lip. So we can fix that. We're just gonna kind of slowly work our way over there. We're gonna work in blues primarily because there was already red over here. Alright, and then all the changes that we're going to make are in yellow. So then we'll have like a really cool, oh, these are the changes that we made picture kind of thing. So this handguard, I kind of have a interesting idea to see if I can try to use. I don't know if it's going to work or not. If it does, it's going to be really, really cool. But if it doesn't, then it's not going to be cool. And then I'm going to feel bad. So we're going to do something like this. And then take and place this here, place this here. We're going to come back up here. We are going to place, where's the other one of these? There it is, it's right beside it, I'm blind. We're going to place this here, right? So now, this is going to kind of serve as the portion of the handguard. So, if we place this here, not there, over here. Why don't you go here? I don't understand. Honestly, I don't understand. Why are you not? No, it can't be that. Why is this off over here? Okay, that's weird. So that angled piece that I had was a really good angled piece. It works here. Problem is it's just not angled. It's flat, and the handguard on the G36 is not flat. It actually has an angle to it. And I kind of want it to end just like that so that it fits, because you can see this fits flush with this end right here, and then that means we're going to have to do something just a little bit more interesting with how this works. So that's going to be fun to try and fix somehow. And then in terms of how it would work down here is just a little unknown to me, but I think what we could do is try to use brackets. Kind of have this sitting here, and then take cheese slopes and turn them this direction. So it kind of flattens it out just a little bit. What if we do this instead? Honestly, I think that's okay. I think that actually works. So let's do that. What's the stream doing right now? Is it going horribly awry? Seems okay so far, to be honest. So we'll do that. And then we're going to basically replace this piece with this. So place this here. we're going to remove these bricks and replace them with just 4s for now. Would be an excellent placeholder until I actually need to change them. And then, because this piece is now there, we can actually take the longest piece we have is a 12. We'll stick a 12 like so. Move this. Stick a 12 like so. Bring this on around. Place it here. Around. Place this here. Place this here. Place that here. Place that there. Wrong way. Just like so. Just slight angles, but angles that work, basically. We're going to go ahead and delete these out. Then basically come through and thicken this on up. So someone did something interesting because the G36 rails aren't at an actual angle like this. So what Christopher Hotman did was he actually built the majority of the rifle handguard with a cutout for the rails that pokes through. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that or not. Hopefully we can. It'd be cool. So what I'm thinking is basically just doing are they that high up? I don't think they're that high up. I think they're actually down just a little bit more. I think right there will be okay. We can always go through and adjust as needed. It's a very interesting way to do angles. I'm a little bit inspired from how Hotman did his G36, but I think his G36 uses a different way of doing angles. I think it's more traditional way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift these down so that these actually overlap, like so. And because these overlap, now it's actually super easy to extend this bottom out right here to form a gap. Up to there for now. We'll see what goes on. Stupid hiccups. I hate hiccups so much. Ooh, what happened here. I don't like that. We're gonna have to. Obviously my intent was to put flat pieces over top all this so it looks nice and smooth. But dang, I really did not want that to happen. That's not good. I also don't like that right there. So we'd have to extend this out just by one more to fix that problem. Which can be done. I should change the title to G36C. Yes, you are correct. I'm just too lazy, and changing the title sometimes doesn't work for once like the stream's already started. So I should, yes, but I'm not going to. That's gonna go there. Those vent holes aren't that thin, so we're gonna have to figure out how to do that without it looking like that, which is something that we should be able to do. So the other thing is obviously the barrel goes through the entire receiver here. It doesn't just stick out the front. So we also got to find a way to do that. I think right now we're going to come in and smooth out most of this so that it looks better. I don't want to do just the square edges because it just doesn't look good. Well, it doesn't look good. Oh goodness, my English. Nothing much. We're working on Ash's G36 from Rainbow Six Siege. We're gonna finally get to work on kind of finishing up some of the Rainbow Six Siege stuff. It's been a while since I've done Rainbow Six Siege stuff. I managed to get my hands on Bakker's FN57, thanks to Aspiring Artist. So now I'm just slightly more motivated to finish the FBI weapons, since the pistols are the main things that I don't want to do. Pistols are incredibly difficult to do out of Lego, so coming by one that's done really, really well is a lot easier to finish the whole project with. Hey, Troy. Alright, so 4, 3, and 2. So now then the goal is to basically find out how to get a rail system to stick out here. I think I might actually have to open up 2 of these. We'll see. Can I angle these just a little bit more? Is that possible? No, not possible. Alright, I'll live with that. It kind of adds a little bit of depth to it, to be honest. Finish off the back of this handguard. The under section. Like that. So I think I have an idea for how to do it. And it's going to be a very interesting idea, concept. But if it works, it's going to be super cool. We're going to place this right here. going to place this right here. We've covered up the holes, but now what we can do is take and use a traditional hinge, and we're going to inset it, and then basically do that, so that once we start angling this down as much as we can, which is about there, that's just about where it looks like it's straight up and down instead of just being side to side. And this will let us achieve our goals. I really don't want to delete that out, so we're just going to leave that as is. Control C, Control V. Put this in right through here, just like so. Awesome, because now it actually looks attached like it should, but it's no longer at this angle. And now we're going to take and do, so this actually extends out to basically the front. How am I going to do, oh, obviously I could just do it like this. I can do a 12 and 12, so there's no way you don't fit. Come on. Dang it. I really wanted that to fit. 12, another 12, like so. And that will basically make the rails on the side. Alright, let's come over to templates and find myself a nice long 12 section of Picatinny. That can be slapped onto there. Now then, the front angle portion, how I was going to do that is basically using our wonderful little bricks like this. Do a delicious, it's kind of a weird name. I don't mean that in an offensive way. Just every time I talk to you now, it's just going to be like, oh, hey, delicious. Kind of, you know, a little interesting. What piece? I'm looking for this piece. Kind of got lost with what piece I was looking for. This was basically the plan. Maybe if we bump this up to there. But it's more of a straighter angle. So let's go ahead and we'll switch this back to here. And then what if we do that? And obviously that is a problem. So we can fix that somehow, but we can't. We could, but we can't in this amount of space. Yeah. So at this point, just doing that is a good idea. Yeah, we're making the G36C from Rainbow Six Siege for Ash's loadout, so that I can actually make another Rainbow Six Siege loadout, basically, because it's been forever since I've made a Rainbow Six Siege loadout. But hopefully we actually finish this up sometime soon, so I can actually get another video of this out, because I love doing Rainbow Six Siege guns and stuff for operators and different things like that. It's just sometimes get to be a pain. So doing it consistently, like the SAS operators were super fun to do. It's just the daunting tasks of having to do pistols and stuff like that is a little intimidating. It's not that pistols are bad or anything, it's just pistols are difficult to make. So yeah, now we gotta make those holes again. It's gonna be fun. This can stay. I have the base G36. I need to update it so that it looks better. I don't have an R4C, but it's basically an R15, so I have the base to an R4C. I have Bakker's FN57, so I don't need his pistol. I have a 1911, but I'm not going to use that 1911, so I need to make a 1911 if I make a 1911. If I find someone else's 1911 in the community that I like, I might just use that one instead. And then I'm going to need her M203. What's it called? What's it called, huh? What do you think it's called? M120 CREM. Okay, so that's everything that I basically need. So I don't like making pistols all too much because pistols tend to be a little too small for the types of things that I want to do. It's obviously a challenge, and if you get really good at it, you can get a lot of respect in the community for it, but I'm not here for that, so I don't particularly care. Christopher Hotman makes some of the best pistols in the world. It's just, if you want to see pistols, I'd rather you go to him instead of me because of how high quality his pistols are compared to mine. So the top of this, we're gonna make it a little curved using these, because this allows for this plate high space in here, so I can have this plate come out and actually connect everything that needs to be connected. So how much needs to be connected? That much, not that much, not that much, not that much. Going down to 2x10. And then on this front section here, I need to do some magical stuff so that it looks good in terms of the next angle that we have to do. So I need, yeah, Chris is incredible when it comes to making pistols. So, like I said, I'd just rather you go to him for pistols and things like that because of how amazing he is at it. Like, I'd rather you just go to him, basically. This angle that we're going to make here is a little difficult to make. If I do this, it's not going to work out right because it's actually going to be sticking up too high, like so. So how we can fix this is actually by doing a different type of plate technique where we use this instead. And then it drops it down so that it's flush. But the problem with doing this is now this gap right here. I don't particularly know if this is true, but I think that this right here is now a full plate worth of gap. So if we take and place this here, can we fit that there? The answer is yes. All right, so this is going to be a little confusing. I'm proud of a whole bunch of things, and then I see what other people are doing in the community, and I'm like, oh, well, never mind. I'm not proud of this anymore because other people are doing way cooler things with all sorts of different techniques that I haven't even touched yet. I don't want that. That does not look good. But we need it to curve downwards in some form or fashion. So I guess we could do it traditionally. So if we do a, what is this? This is a 10, so let's replace this with an 8 and sync it back by 1. So, and take this 1 and put that right there. If we take you and place you here, then we can use this piece right here, like so. Welcome back, mate. Let's move this over. It has been a while, but you're back, so why aren't you going where I want you to go? Put you there. Put this here, just like so. That'll be good for that. Yeah, that's fine. I'm a little indifferent about Jack Street. We're actually going to remove this piece, and we're going to sync this back even further. And then we're going to do of course, it causes problems. Jack Street's back. Interesting. In terms of like things shooting, I think the person to really follow would be Infected Bear. He hasn't uploaded in a while, but the stuff that he's made that's shot before has shot pretty insanely high-powered stuff. So that's why I personally like Infected Bear, just because my one gripe with most Lego guns is that when you shoot them, they shoot really weak and not far at all. From the weight of the projectile to the lack of power, because if you put too much power, the Legos break apart and things like that. So being able to see someone like just absolutely dominate with like a real working Lego bow is just a lot more interesting and unique to me, as opposed to the same mechanism that everyone uses. Everyone also uses the same mechanism. I got you. Everyone uses the same mechanism for shooting guns too. There's no diversity there. I don't like that. I would like to see a little bit of diversity for how things shoot. Of course, there are always going to be people who are like, well, there's only one good way to get it to shoot and things like that. And it's because they haven't thought outside the box with the Lego system, because the Lego system can do a whole bunch of really cool things. Do I like my different username? There was a point in time where I didn't, but I do now. I've talked to him on occasion. I had a stream where I bashed the guy really heavily, and then he talked to me after stream, basically. And cleared a lot of things up, a lot of the misconceptions that I had about him. And after he cleared up the misconceptions that I had about him, I was like, okay, well, I understand that you're actually a pretty cool guy. I really appreciate what you do for the community, things like that. So I just had to talk to him, basically. So I've grown an appreciation for him. He's actually gotten a lot better since then as well. Phone's at 100%, that's why I turned off. Like the last time I talked to him, I gotta check now. Let me check. Got the Ruby Volume 4 sound. I got a whole bunch of different tabs open right now. Let me go to YouTube. We're gonna close out of that because we don't need that. We're gonna close out of that because we don't need that. The G36 is gonna be probably the only thing that we do tonight, to be completely honest. My manga is gonna stay open. My Ruby Volume 4 soundtrack is gonna stay open. The G36 tab is gonna stay open, and then YouTube for my different username because I need to know what gun it was that I talked to him about that I really hit him with. Oh God, there's stuff everywhere. Yes. I'm just gonna type in MDUN. Hey Jack. It's not, because the G36 that you need to go look at is Christopher Hotman's G36. The second you see his G36, you just be like, oh wow, well, why can't you be like him? So go take a look at Christopher Hotman's G36 and appreciate his a lot more than mine, because he's a pretty good builder when it comes to doing pretty much anything. I don't think there's a single thing that I haven't seen him good at, to be completely honest. Alright, so let's go to videos. I think it happened after the SCAR 20. And then I think it happened like right after the SCAR 20, about where the C96 is, and then I bashed on him a lot because I thought he was copying people when it turns out he wasn't. I felt as if his builds weren't improving at all. He was just kind of one of the average builders in the community. My Google Chrome over here is not responding, so is my stream doing poorly? No, surprising. It turns out he wasn't copying anyone, and then his builds actually started improving. So they start having magazine releases, they start having accurate dimensions, he starts juggling around a couple different things when it comes to dimensions for width and length. So like 3 stud wide magazines upwards to 4 stud wide magazines. He's gotten into bracket work, 5 stud wide receivers up to 7 stud wide receivers, things like that. That stuff that is good to have in your arsenal of things able to do. So I think at one point in time I had a problem with them, and I don't think I have a problem with anymore, to be honest. Since I've talked to him, I've come to an understanding that I was wrong, basically. Everyone just needs a little bit of time to learn a couple different things from a couple different people, or just by watching other people do other things. So, like, I've learned a whole bunch by watching what other people have built. I've learned a whole bunch by seeing what other people have done in terms of not even building guns, in terms of other ratios outside of building guns. They can come into like a really big helping hand when it comes to doing what I'm doing. So I know that the ratio between these brackets right here, the outside of this wall right here, is 2 plates high. So if you come through and do this, this actually like works out in terms of units, and it looks really good. That's what I really like about Chris's guns in particular, Hotman's G36, is that as much function as he packs into a gun, it still looks fantastic. That's my one complaint with Jack's Tree, right? He's got a working gun, it shoots, that's awesome, but it doesn't have the aesthetic pleasing. I worded that a little weird, so the words coming after that wouldn't fit well. It doesn't look aesthetically pleasing like other people's guns, because I've done a video on this before. There are different types of Lego gun builders. There's like average gun builder. I gotta find it now. It's in Google Drive. I still have it. It's a fantastic thing to resort back to. Hotman would be considered a, where did I put it? Hyper-realistic model builder. Where did I put it? Did I put it in school? Don't tell me I put it in school. Well, crap. I don't know where I put it, but I'm going to need it. Random stuff. Random stuff. Yep, types of Lego gun builders. So a Hotman is a hyper-realistic model builder. What defines that is, but I'm just going to read from the slide. Hyper-realistic model builders are intense. They are top of the community and some of the best hands down. Function and detail are both on point within the laws of the LEGO system, and the gun operates flawlessly during handling. Features to consider are bolt and charging handle independent of one another where applicable, trigger, safety, and fire selector that actually blocks the trigger, a magazine release that locks in magazine, removable magazine, stock adjustment where applicable, and above all else, field strip. The detail level is insane. So that's where I put Hotman at, because he's able to do pretty much all of that. There are other people in the community who are also able to do that, but Hotman is the first one that comes to mind. So we've got baseline builders, realistic model builders, hyper-realistic model builders, baseline shooter builders. This gets into a whole different category of the shooting. Realistic shooter builders, below average builders, copycat builders, reconfirmation builders, and yeah, that's it. So there's a whole video that I did on the types of Lego gun builders, based on my opinion, obviously, back when something happened that inspired me to do it. So I ended up doing it. So just changing the front handguard of this G36C alone looks really, really good. I'm happy that I'm kind of coming back in, re-looking into it. So we're going to change the bottom portion of this to be 3 studs wide, because yeah, I'm better than whatever's going on with this, to be honest. So we can just delete all that out. And then we're going to replace you and you. Switch back over to that yellow that we were using. So I'm trying my best to be in different portions of the community. Like, some of my guns are really good, and then others are a little meh. Like, my Cuda is probably my best gun that I've ever built in my entire life. But my FAL for Modern Warfare 2 is just an absolute disgrace to society. So it can vary on where exactly you lie in the community at different times, which makes it just a little confusing once you start talking about different portions of the community, because you can be like, oh, well, did you see so-and-so's build? And you're just like, oh, yeah, but it sucked really bad. And then you could be like, oh, well, do you remember this build that that person did? And you're like, oh, yeah, I remember that build. That build was absolutely fantastic. Like, things like that just make talking about the community just a little bit more difficult, because depending on who you're talking about, their build quality could differ. So if you don't put all your heart and soul into a build, it's going to come out looking really bad. I don't think I've ever put as much heart and soul into anything as much as I did the Cuda. This is getting annoying. Like, the Cuda is just absolutely over the top, the most detailed, accurate build that I've ever done. And then I've been trying to put that much effort into other builds, and it's working, but it's not working at the same time. Certain things don't lend themselves to being turned into Lego guns all too well, which is part of the challenge of building Lego guns. So being able to adapt and look at different things and be like, okay, well, if I do it, if I do that this way in particular, then it's going to work out really well. I know Nate Dogg. I've talked to Nate Dogg. Nate Dogg's a part of the Google Hangouts chat that we in the community have, that most of us are in. Not all of us in the community are in there. We've tried to get a whole bunch of people in the community into the Hangouts chat, but not everyone wants to join, which is understandable. Certain people have different reasons. Other people have their own reasons. I know, I'm not going to say who it is, but we've tried to get someone to join, but he doesn't want to join because there are gun builders from all around the world, so the chat is going off on different times. So you could be asleep in Maine, and then all across the world, the sun is up, so people are talking back and forth. So the chat would be going off. Obviously, you can mute the chat as needed, but why even be in a chat if you just mute it, essentially? So that's part of the reason why some people don't want to join in the community, but most people in the community are in it. Like, so certain, I can name a whole bunch. Hold on, I'll just open up Hangouts on the computer and I'll just name them off. We got anywhere from, I want to say the highest person who I think maybe 5,000 subs last. I don't know. All right, hold on. Let me people. So Extreme Guns, AA Lego, Brick Built Replicas, Bus Cusker, Charlie Thomas, Christopher Hopman, Gibby Gunsmith, James. You don't know James. James isn't on the YouTube scene, but he has a fantastic gun. Gems, Lego Guns, Joey, Florent, Lego Gun Builder, Nate, Dog, Pixel Bricks, Bacher, and then Sean and Slender Killer. So there's a whole bunch of people here. Actually, not a lot. Now look at it. And we all, for the most part, chat with one another regularly. Not all of us chat. Some people more than others, which is to be expected. Some people just don't want to chat. And then some people don't chat at all. Like, I know quite a few people don't chat. Like, we had one guy come in today, I'm not going to say his name, who just came in and he said something, and then he was like, oh, well, I'm just going to mute chat because my phone gets spammed with a whole bunch of notifications from this. And we were like, oh, okay. Like, it was kind of just weird, to be honest. Like, I personally love the chat because I get to see what people are working on all the time, and then I can ask people for favors if I needed them, and then other people will show different techniques. Like, I know Hotman has come in and shown a couple of his building techniques a couple times, and I've used them. Like, I even have an example of it in real life, of the building techniques that he showed. So he did this really interesting building technique right here, where he uses these to set the angle, but he actually uses hinge pieces in here on plates to make the actual magwell. So this was a really cool technique, and I wanted to adopt it for a MP5-esque model. So this is what I used it for. He just showed the technique in chat. It's a pretty interesting technique. It works super well in real life. It does not work at all in LVD. So don't expect to use it in LVD. What was the original G36 model based on? The original model was just based on something that I built a long time ago in high school. I think my last G36 was ages ago. So we're going to save this correctly because, oh boy, I got to get my stuff together for the website because things have gotten a little bit more complicated with how the website's been updated. So this is the HKG36, which is correct. This is Mark II. This is not complete version 2. This is the handguard ROUGH, rough, underscore that, version 1. Save. That's how that works. If you're asking, like, in history, what was the original G36 based on? I don't know. Actually, I don't even know what. I think the G36 is a gas piston. G36. I think it's a short stroke gas piston. but it's delayed blowback. Gas operated, production, design details. Barrel weapon can be stripped and reassembled without tools through a system of cross pins. Short stroke gas piston rotating bolt. Damn, I'm good. Got that one. That's awesome to hear. I actually know that because Christopher Hotman's G36, because it field strips, when he did the when he pulls the barrel segment out, you can actually see where the piston is at. So awesome. I'm glad that I got that right. I'm getting better at that. There should be a variance on here. Let me see if I can find all the variances on here. 5.56 by 45 30-round detachable box magazines. The little pegs on the side of the magazine are actually a way for you to be able to clip two magazines together, kind of like how dual mags works in any of the Call of Duty games that involve dual mags. There's a whole family of rifles for G36s, from assault rifle versions to LMG versions, obviously the MG36. You have the G36C, which is the carbine length, which is kind of like the M4 carbine that we have, and then you have the G36 itself, which is more like the full-length assault rifle version. Think of that as the M16 of the G36 family. There are, in fact, designated marksman rifle versions of the G36. That would be the SL8. The SL8 was intended for importation into the United States, but very few actually made it over here, and the ones that you can find are very expensive. So, good luck trying to find those. There's a couple really interesting facts about the G36 in terms of charging handle, right? For those of you who don't know, the M4 platform of weapons has this wonderful thing on it called the Forward Assist. Oh, there's not one on this one. Damn it. Alright, here we go. I grabbed this down off the shelf. For those of you who don't know what this is a Blue Jay Industries M4 PDW EDW charging handle over here. I was going to show you guys. On this side of an M4 receiver, there's this little lever thing that comes out that you push on. So this is what's called the Forward Assist. On an AR-15, there's little grooves cut out in the BCG, bolt carrier group. So if your bolt is slightly open, like it is here, I can see you guys through it. When you push on the Forward Assist, the bolt itself is supposed to close. That's how a Forward Assist works. So if you're riding the charging handle home on the weapon, doing this, and your bolt doesn't lock into its locking lugs properly, you press on the Forward Assist, and then that will fix your problems. The G36 does not have a Forward Assist, so if your round doesn't go into battery, you can, in fact, use the charging handle to do it, but there's a very particular way that you use the charging handle. And I actually got to look it up because I don't remember the details. So apparently that was on Wikipedia. Fire selector, operating mechanism. Maybe it's an operating mechanism. Boop, 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 boop. The cocking handle can be switched from either end, folds in and unfolds from a spring, so the shooter need not unfold it by hand before firing. Another feature of it is that it doubles as the Forward Assist, which is used in the instance that the spent cartridge ejected, but the next one did not properly extract and go into battery. In addition, the ejection port has a brass deflector to mitigate the amount of casings that may strike the face of left-handed operators. Instead of a dust cover, which has the need to be flipped back up when the gun isn't in use, the bolt acts as the seal from dirt. It doesn't tell you how it works, but I think it involves you have to rotate it out, and then I want to see you push down on it, and then it will lock into place so that you can actually slam your hand into it to get the bolt to go home. So, yes, I think that's how it works. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a while. The person that I knew who told me that, I haven't talked to in a while. Do I like Jim's Lego guns? I love Jim. Jim's great. I used his P226 in my SAS operators loadout from Rainbow Six Siege. So, I said, I don't have any quarrels with Jim. There was a point in time where I didn't like Jim. I think at the very beginning of me finding his YouTube channel, I didn't like him, and then getting to know him, I was like, okay, well, you're fine. Like, there's honestly nothing wrong with you. So yeah, this is the first step. The next step, I don't know. Here's Brick Built. We all know each other in the community. Speaking of other people in the community, we're gonna delete these out because I actually know how to do this now in a not so stupid way. So yeah, man, back then when I didn't understand ratios, long time ago. They're so simple too. It's not even like a hard thing to do. The reason I was doing that is because this space has to be open for the bolt to slide back in, because you know bolts have to do that whenever they're working. So I just, you know, did it a really complicated way that took up more space than what was needed for something that could be solved by doing that, to be honest. Oh man, that's gonna bother me. That's gonna bother me a lot. You're gonna be able to see it. Yep, this is actually, I really like this design because which part does it pivots on this part back here. So this goes this direction, or it goes the other direction, like so. I was actually really happy with this design when I first came out with it because I thought it was absolutely genius. I realize now that it's a terrible design. It'd probably break a lot, to be honest, but it doesn't have a rubber band return on it either. And I think I justified that in the original video by saying, oh, well, the G36 from, or the MG36 from Modern Warfare 3 doesn't do it, so why should this model? Something like that, I think. I was dumb back then. Place this on in. Close up this gap that's going on through here that I don't want. I know a little bit about the G36. I also had the Wikipedia open. That's how I confirmed some of the things that I said. But I know a good amount of information about most guns. It's just something you get to be used to for a while. I've watched quite a bit of gun channels too. Watching gun channels definitely helps. Gun channels are cool. It's fun to sit here and learn about different things. Military arms channel. Forgotten Weapons is the coolest ever because Ian just gets to see a whole bunch of guns that I've never gotten really good information on. Ian did a video on the AN-94. In case any of you were wondering, my favorite assault rifle of all time is the AN-94. And the reason for that is because it's basically an AK-47, but it has a really cool hyperburst function to it where it shoots 2 rounds so quick that the shooter doesn't feel recoil until the second bullet has left the barrel. Which is really cool because that means you can have super accurate, stupid thing, computer. You can have super accurate bursts because by the time your first bullet recoil is hitting your shoulder, your second bullet has left the barrel. So you can put 2 holes basically on top of one another, and that was the idea on how to increase lethality. It's the problem with shooting is not the gun, it's usually the accuracy of the shooter. So if you were to speed up the process of shooting to the point where the shooter doesn't have enough time to flinch or react to the recoil of the gun and put more rounds on target, you will end up increasing lethality. The other idea is that if you put 1 bullet into a piece of armor and then you place another bullet behind that, you're basically doubling on penetration value. So your first bullet might not go through, but that area is going to be deformed because all body armor is only designed to take 1 bullet. So if your second bullet hits in another area that's deformed right behind the first bullet, you can probably break that armor. So there's a couple of do really accurate guns. So you can, of course, you can do hyper burst weapons. There's two of them that I know of. You have the AN-94 and the H&K G11, which was a prototype that was never completed. The G11 is the cooler of the two. The AN-94, I believe it shoots, I want to say it shoots 2,100, no, 1,800 rounds per minute in 2-round burst. And then the G11 in 3-round burst shoots 2,400 rounds per minute, which is pretty damn insane. Plus, it's a 3-round burst. Wow, I like how all of these are AN-94s instead of the G11. There's the G11. So, why is there a Gundam to Below picture in here? Weird. The AN-94 fires from 30 rounds, AK-74 magazines. The G11 fired from proprietary 48-round magazines, and it fired stuff called caseless ammunition. Caseless ammunition is cool because instead of actually having a brass case that you have to worry about ejecting, all of your case burns up inside the chamber, so there's no that it needs to eject. So you can forget about the ejection process that's going on and focus entirely on shooting process, and because of that, you are able to increase the amount of firepower that you have. That's why the G11 can shoot 2,400 rounds per minute and the AN-94 can't. The AN-94 still has to worry about ejection for those 2 rounds. So the problem with doing hyperbursts is that the rifles tend to be overly complicated. You can take a look at the AN-94 field ship right here. It's incredibly overcomplicated. It's got a pulley system and random stuff in it. It's too complicated, which means it gets expensive, and when things get expensive, the military tends not to adopt it. It's just how things are. So, something else that you can try to do to increase lethality is use something called a duplex cartridge. I can't spell cartridge. How do you spell cartridge? So, a duplex cartridge is a special type of cartridge with basically the same thought, where you're firing one bullet, one cartridge, but it has multiple bullets behind it. We'll go with this diagram here. So the Colt's ACR, Colt Advanced Combat Rifle, took advantage of this interesting thing. It's basically a standard cartridge, but there's a hollow portion drilled out in these bullets back here. So this powder burns behind this bullet, which pushes out this bullet, and then you have 2 bullets that are firing from the same cartridge. So that's what a duplex cartridge is. You're firing 2 bullets, 1 cartridge. It is interesting in concept. In terms of accuracy, it's okay, as far as what I've been told from watching the video on it. So, yeah. How do we get down that tangent? I don't know. I honestly forget how we even started talking about that, or why we did in the first place. Anyhow, yeah, G36. So stock mechanism needs to be fixed. This grip we're gonna work on. This as well, I want to do some more with the magwell. Let's fix this image back over. In terms of magwell, what I'm thinking is doing plates down the side so that we can have a 3-stud wide magazine. So I think that would be nice. We're going to go ahead and place the barrel in. In terms of barrel, this plate right here is actually going to be replaced with one of my favorite pieces. This is like a sleeper piece that no one ever uses anymore, but this piece is fantastic for doing so many things. This little L bracket right here, this is one of the original brackets. It has, once you start understanding the different portions of how it works, you start opening up the world to so many different possibilities. It's not even funny. The reason this one is so helpful is because it doesn't take any special measurements to know when it's going to end flush with a wall. So like if we take and think, yeah, one more, just like so. This is now flush with the end of this barrel. I didn't have to do any special measurements for that. That just naturally happens when you're using this brick, which is what I really like about that brick in particular in terms of brackets. Because some brackets you have to be like, okay, well, over this distance, I need this much space in order to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then it gets a little bit complicated, and because it gets so complicated, it gets annoying to deal with, things like that. This one just keeps it nice and simple, and that's good. It's good for everyone's health to keep things nice and simple. So we're going to go ahead and do the muzzle brake. It's a pretty standard muzzle brake, to be honest. Nothing really special. Because it's nothing really special, I'm not going to overly exert myself when it comes to building it. Why is this piece not going on the way I want it to go on? Interesting. How about you? You fit? Do you fit? You're the one that fits. Okay, got you. I bet none of you knew this, but the largest producer of tires in the entire world is actually Lego. Just blew all your minds. I know I did. Yeah, so apparently they use like actual rubber and stuff in making their tires. So because of that, they actually hold the title to being the world's largest producer of tires. Title of largest producer of tires. It's honestly just a cool thing that I didn't know about. It's something that you wouldn't know about unless someone told you. So I've told all you, so now all of you have been blessed with the knowledge of that. Go forth and be fruitful in spreading the knowledge. Yeah, this is... we're going to skin these tires down. Where are you? I do that. Yeah. Standard muzzle brake. Do I have a template for the muzzle brake? Tell me I have a template for a muzzle brake. I do. Thank the Lord. So much easier when you just have a template. Templates are awesome. Love templates. Oh, that's too long. Never mind. We're just gonna leave it like so. And then do... so something cool that we can do that I found out in LED on LiveStream one time is that we can actually delete this and take this, place this back where it was. So for those of you who have never done this before, you can actually put these 2x2 cylinder pieces on the inside of these pieces, but you can't do that in LED because that's an illegal building technique. So if you just delete out the rim and then place them through, it works. So I found that on stream, and that was cool to find out because then I was able to use that technique on that gun. All right. Is there anything that I can do with this? Particularly just that. Should be able to because of these pieces. Oh, yes. It looks so much better. That's already like 10 times better than what it was. Because now it actually looks like a G36 fire selector, but it doesn't like look bad. So much better. And because of how that works, we can actually delete this out now and skin the fire selector down to be 2 studs instead of 5 studs. 3 studs. You get the point. Get rid of Pac-Man here. What the heck? Since when were you able to do that? Dude. That's kind of cool. So I think I might actually incorporate that feature a lot more now. I didn't know you could do that with those pieces. See, I'm learning all types of different things on stream. I should stream more often just to see what else I would learn. Something like that. This top rail system should be 3 studs wide, not just 2 like it is now. So that should be fixed eventually. I think for now this is pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and hit save. And then we're gonna go over here and we're gonna look up G36C and see what colors and stuff are going on. Mostly black. Kind of looking for cool color scheme ideas, basically. Pink. Pink would be okay. There's a tan one. Yeah. A plastic see-through one for airsoft. That's how you know it's real cheap plastic, when you can see through it. I'm not seeing too much going on. Yo! That looks cool. I just found a picture of a bullpup G36 and that actually looks kind of cool. So I might have to build that sometime, considering I'm updating the G36 base. I could, you know, do something like that. That'd be cool. In terms of color, I think we're going to stick with the Rainbow Six Siege color scheme, which is just black and boring. So, we're going to do it slightly differently. This is going to be all black. This is going to be the darkest gray that they have. And this is also going to be the darkest gray that they have. And this is going to be the darkest metallic gray that they have. Just like so. Oh, these rails here need to be black. Okay, apparently someone was bothering someone. Interesting. Boom. That. Good. I'm happy with this so far. We'll do more work tomorrow, probably. Maybe. We'll see. Save as. Handguard. Rough version 1. It's no longer rough. It's now etched. Save. So that's everything that we have. Tomorrow we'll pick up on stream. Maybe. Technically I'm supposed to. There's something that we're doing for my old boss tomorrow. Because of his birthday and things like that. So I might stream tomorrow, I might not. We'll see how things go. If I get to stream, I get to stream. If not, I don't get to. I'm going to go ahead and get off. It's already 11. And go play some Black Ops 3. I just, you know, a little old, but Black Ops 3 is still a fun game, and I've got 100 wins to go to get my little triple play so that I can get another gun, which is hopefully the A94. So I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for coming out and watching this live stream with me. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys got something cool that you liked. If not, I apologize. If you guys want to see more cool things in the LEGO gun building community, we're just putting the gun away and then it'll be back down. You can go check out my website at blueginthemustard.bluegie.com. There's a whole bunch of my guns on that website, and I think a lot of you would like it. I need to update it sometime soon. I try to update it regularly. I haven't gotten a chance to update it. I've been busy. I've been on vacation. So just go ahead and go check out my website, bluejumpmaster.com. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so you can get any posts and updates and things like that I may put out. And yeah, is that it? I think that's it. Thanks for coming out, guys. I'll see you guys later in another stream some other time.